everyone, it's Silvia. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you're going to see me try and catch up on all the stuff that has been sent to me whilst I was away in Japan. So today we're going to have a look at, I think about 4 decks. And it's going to be fun because I know of a couple of them, but another 2, I think I know what they are, but I'm not exactly sure. So we'll actually discover that together. Okay, so the first one is an Oracle deck that has been released by Rockpool, I believe a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't really seen it around. That it might also be because being Rockpool, sometimes they have different launch date or different release date around the world. So Rockpool is Australian, so obviously, or at least we hope that they release their decks first in Australia and then overseas. But in any case, this is the Folklore Oracle, and the authors, illustrators here are Jada Rose and Hadas Knox. I love the name Hadas because Hadas in Spanish is it's like fairies, it means fairies, so I don't know whether that is the reason why this person is called like that or not. I have absolutely no idea. We do know Jada Rose, however, because I believe that she was involved, at least at the beginning, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that she was involved in the illustration of the maybe the Census of the Witch Oracles, you know, the very first ones from, gee, that will have to be something like 3 or 4 years ago, if not longer. If you remember the very first ones that were released, I believe the first one was Samhain. And if I'm not wrong, I could be wrong because I didn't check, but it does ring a bell as to, yeah, it could possibly be that she was one of the illustrators of those decks. And then, you know, with the following iterations, they move on to different illustrators. So I think that Tihana Lukovic is the latest one that has been involved in these projects. And they've actually published all of them. So we've got all of the Sabbats in an oracle, in the form of an oracle deck. And I'm very proud that I've got all of them. It's very nice. And I've actually created for my members a very sweet but very intense as well custom spread for when you do have all of those oracles, to use one card for each and every one of them per Sabbath. So it's actually very kind of unique, but also complex, I would say, custom spread. But getting back to this one, so this is called the Folklore Oracle, and this goes to show you that one of my theories about this year 2025 is actually revealing itself to be correct, because I cannot stop seeing fairy tale tarots, fairy tale oracles, folklore tarots, folklore stories, oracles and stuff like that. And this is all related to the power of transmitting generation into generation all of these stories that we have. So it makes us all storytellers by default, because we have now the opportunity and the duty in many cases to transmit orally and, you know, in a written form, or even with the deck, all of the traditions that we've been told by our ancestors, and we have the duty to transmit them to the people that will come after us. So I have no idea whether this is the concept behind this deck, but it does feel like it might be. So it says here, explore the hidden depths of your soul through the rich symbolism of folk wisdom. This deck draws on age-old traditions and archetypes to offer insight into the seeker's inner world. Lushly illustrated by Jada Rose, each card depicts an element from folklore which draws forth deeply rooted issues from the murky subconscious into the light. That sounds a bit like what I do when I do shadow work. Shine your lantern, follow the path, find what you seek. This is going to be really interesting. It's got 44 cards. And you know, I think that Rockpool has been in the industry for long enough, and they released so many oracle decks. It's mostly oracle decks, but every now and then they do release a tarot deck as well. But they've done so many that they kind of know what the tarot community expects and wants and appreciates, and so it is 44 cards. I think that, you know, you would think that some companies like Los Carabeo, which is an even older company, which is an even more ancient tradition, will know. but they don't, because every time that they come out with an oracle deck is like 33 cards. Not all of them, but most of them. And 33 is just not enough. We know that. Okay, really beautiful, by the way. I like this. Would be a very beautiful strength card if this were a tarot deck. I would really appreciate this. There is this sense of abandonment because of the eyes of the character here being closed. But at the same time, there is a really strong, powerful sense of having this control over the snake, this really really big creature. It's not actually a snake. It doesn't look like a snake to me. It's most definitely a supernatural being, because it looks like it's got a tail here, a bushy tail, and I believe also some hooves here that we can see. So it would be very interesting to see. I'm expecting this to be one of the cards on the deck, and so we'll be able to know what this is about. And let's have a look. So as always, they've got this really beautiful, I like this is very embossed, so if it gives you a really nice tactile feel to it. These books, they've been really good lately. I don't know if you agree, but honestly, I think that Rockpool is really fine-tuning on how to get to make the perfect product. Not that they're there yet, and I think that that will actually require constant evolution, but I really do appreciate what they're doing. And so as always, I'm expecting in the table of contents to see something about an introduction. Yes, indeed. This is a deck for those who dream of mist-cloaked fairy rings. Wow. Who turn to their favorite macabre and magical tales for comfort. I do that. For those who think to spare a drop of milk for unseen visitors and whose eyes can scan the water's edge in search of liars and wild-haired women with shimmering tails. That is such an amazing introduction. I really love the atmosphere that this evocates, and you know, and it puts me in a set of mind that is just right for the time of the year we're in the southern hemisphere in Australia here. Because I made the mistake of thinking that because I came from Japan, where it's like 35 degrees Celsius and 99% humidity, Sydney would have been on its way to spring, but it's not. It's still bitterly cold winter. And so this warms my heart, and I really like it. So using the language and imagery of folklore and folk wisdom that stretches back through recorded time to a numinous past when each object not only possessed its own practical function, but was the embodiment of an archetype with the force of collective wisdom behind it, this deck asks you to explore how you might learn more deeply into the questions. You might lean, sorry, I was like, what? You might lean more deeply into the questions in your life. It aims to bring awareness to the true scope of your power and agency in every facet of your existence as you seek to live more rhythmically and more in tune with your environment. Okay, then it gets more technical, but I really like the way in which it draws us in with that first sentence that was very evocative, and I really like what the creator, the writer, is doing here. Then we've got the how to use the cards and the single card questions readings. You know, we got a couple of spreads, the initiation spread, the veiled desire spreads. That sounds really interesting. I always like when there's specific spreads that accompany a deck, because they give me an idea of what the intention of the creator was when they sat down and they imagined creating this specific deck. So the veiled desire spread. Do I want to use that spread? Do I want to know what my veiled desires are? Or am I going to be scared? So the healing spread, amazing. And then it starts with the cards. Okay, so for each and every card, it looks like we've got a page and a half. So we got the title, the small thumbprint in full color of the image, and then we do have, for example, here there's a question. I don't know whether it's always a question. It looks like there's questions throughout the whole deck, which is going to be interesting because obviously questions are prompts for me and I can use them in my journaling, for example, or in my meditation practice. So this is already telling me that this is one of those decks that it's hands-on, and it will really require for me to study the deck and know in which part of my practice I want to use it, which is good. Moon phases, how can you radiate light in the dark? Okay, really interesting. So it goes on and it talks about the lore, which is always nice. I always want to know where the image comes from, if I can. And then the meaning and a divining deeper. Divining deeper. A simple way to identify the moon phase by sight. In the northern hemisphere, when the moon is waxing, it looks like a pregnant belly. When it is waning, it looks like the letter C, as in crow. In the southern hemisphere, yes, please tell me, it is the opposite. Look to the moon, what phase is it in, and how does this phase reflect on your life? That's interesting. It seems like it's also imparting some kind of wisdom and also rituals associated with the cards. You know, looking at the moon is very ritualistic. So let's have a quick look at the cards and discover yourself in every tale. Really like this. There's more and more now, even mass market publishers. I really like to see the evolution that they go through because they still keep them at very reasonable prices. Here in Australia, I think I spent about $26 on this deck. I'm not entirely sure because I did buy it some time ago when it was released and I was still in Japan, so it stayed here in my place and then I just opened it yesterday. But I believe that it's around $25, $26, $29 Australian, and I'm not totally sure. It might be a little bit more expensive in the US, but it's still something very affordable compared to other publishers, for example. And these are the backs, which I really like. They're very nice. And this kind of, is it like a lime green, I would say? Kind of, so it feels like it's a very glossy kind of gold, but with a patina of lime green. And I don't know whether I'm exaggerating in this description. It's like a green one. It's fine. So we know that there's 44 cards, and let's just have a look. I really like the idea of having this space around the images with these cream color borders, because it really shows you how the image is framed in a way and also kind of detached. So it takes on some kind of a dignity by itself. Wow, this is really beautiful. Oh, this is really amazing. I really love this card. Forest. What lies in the depth of the shadowed woods? So as you can see, we do have questions, and I really like that because, as I said, to me, questions are always very helpful as in, you know, journaling prompts, meditation, questions, and obviously related to the image that is in the card that is also described or titled, you know, by the title. I would say that these are more title rather than keywords. And so, for example, we got fever here, and we don't necessarily have a keyword, but I do like the fact that even though we don't have a keyword, it still makes me eager to talk about this card because I do have a question at the bottom of the card. So the fact that there are no keywords, generally speaking, will be a deal breaker for me. You guys know me nowadays. I mean, it's not like I'm going to change my mind on these kind of things, especially when it comes to an oracle, and especially when it comes to an oracle that is not necessarily based on very well-known symbology. If it's an animal deck, for example, I still want my keywords, but I can still work with an animal deck when I do know the animals and I know that there is a certain symbology associated to them. But when it comes to the 4 seasons, okay, I can think about time and changing and new life and the phoenix and stuff like that, but I do prefer to have a keyword. Or let's see if the question at the bottom of the card works as well. So it says, can you embrace your cyclical nature? Okay, fair enough. It does, it works. Moon phases we've seen that earlier. Prophecy. Death. Okay, there's a death card, which is actually really beautiful. I do really like this kind of art style, by the way. And as I always say at this point, I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to understand what the media used are. And so I believe that this is, for example, watercolor, and I could be completely wrong. but it looks to me like it's watercolor because of the different shades and the chroma shading, let's say, of the whole color here on the skirt of the character. So the death card comes with the question, how might an ending become a renewal? So that's a really positive spin on that, but it's also very in tone with a tarot deck, as you can see, because obviously the death card in a tarot deck always talks about renewal. You know, we talk about the phoenix and something that is ending necessarily, but is also making space for something new to begin. And iron. Where is the balance between modern and mystical? Wow, that's very provocative. I really like this idea. And I think that is something that is very popular now in the discussion in all of the circles, because, you know, we are very close to mystical. Personally, I am very, very close to anything mystical. But at the same time, I'm also someone who's very attuned to modern gadgets, for example, and technology. And I don't think I could survive without it. And so, you know, there is a debate there. So what does that mean? Am I fooling myself into believing that I'm actually very attached to the mystical, where I'm actually very comfortable in my own super smart home, etc.? It is a very interesting debate there. But in any case, this is the Folklore Oracle by Rockpool. Just came out a couple of weeks ago, I believe. Jada Rose and Hades Knox. Absolutely loving this one, and I cannot wait to start using it. But let's move on to the next deck, because I think I know what it is. And it's one of those decks that came with a bit of a delay because of this, basically. So it says released from biosecurity control. So it was held at customs because of biosecurity. It was flagged to biosecurity. So what happens is that everything that comes to Australia has to go through. Well, I think it's random. They probably don't go through all of the parcels, but I don't know that for sure. I think that they just asked their dogs that have a canine unit, and they go through the parcels. And sometimes the dogs then, they point out to a few parcels that could contain biohazard material. And 2 of the parcels that I received this month were stopped in biosecurity control. So obviously they came open to me, and then they put in they slip in a note saying we had to open it because the dogs, you know, they singled it out as possibly containing something. And I don't know whether something was inside or not. So obviously they're open, and sometimes they tell you that they didn't take anything out. Sometimes they tell you that some material had been discovered and they had to remove it. And so I have no idea, but I know that this deck comes from the UK. It comes from Deborah Allen. She's the creator. What happened was that Deborah Allen from Tarot, Magic and Reason, she has a fantastic Instagram account. And what happened was I was just looking at her account, and she's a deck creator. She's made a deck, and I really wanted to buy one. And but it wasn't necessarily on sale, so you have to contact her. And so I contacted her. But at the time, I was almost leaving for Japan, so she was like, you know, let's get back in touch when you're back, etc. So and she was absolutely lovely. I highly recommend it. If you like this deck, get in touch with her. As I said, Tarot, Magic and Reason on Instagram, Deborah Allen, Debs. And she's really, really lovely. And so she just made sure to send me the deck. And as I said, you know, which is your goods have been screened and inspected for biosecurity risk material. You know, it really is random. I have absolutely no idea what was inside. I hope that it was nothing expensive. Sometimes I do have someone maybe sending some tea leaves, and I know that tea leaves are a big no-no. So obviously they remove them. In any case, this is what she sent me and what I received even after the biosecurity screening. So this is the Tomar Tarot. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm not entirely sure. And so she was really lovely, because she was like, okay, but please understand that this is, you know, it comes as is, you know, it's not a big production. So obviously there might be some slight flaws and everything. I'm like, I really I don't mind. I really like it. I really want to see it and have it in my hands and, you know, work with it. And it's very nice that she also sent this this pouch with a couple of things here. Let me just take everything out. There you go. So if you want to log into her, she also gives her a Gmail account. There you go. So you can actually contact her directly, or this is the website as well. Or, well, there you go. If you want to scan the QR code, that's the QR code. So you can scan it and you can get in touch with her. And I highly recommend it. This is a thank you note that she sent me. So thank you, Debs, for sending this deck to me. I cannot wait. There's also a PDF file for this tarot deck. Yeah, card meanings be downloaded from the Tomar website, and it explains how to do so. So I haven't done that yet because I haven't even opened the deck yet, and I will definitely do that. But as I was explaining at the beginning of the video, I'm really catching up with everything that has been sent to me, either for as a present or that I bought myself or has been sent for review. So I'm trying to catch up on all of these decks whilst I was away. And so let's go, let's open this up. I'm very excited about this, and I don't want to ruin the packaging. Okay, here we go. There's another piece of scotch tape here. There we go. And here we go. So these are the bags. I'm very excited because I don't remember everything about this deck. So this is going to be a bit of a discovery at the same time for me and for you. So these are the bags, really beautiful, and it comes wrapped. So let me just quickly remove the wrapping. Okay, so let's have a look at this deck. Well, by the way, can I just say the first impression, the tactile impression, is that this has got nothing to envy to a mass market produced deck. As a matter of fact, it feels very sturdy. It feels, you know, importantly heavy in the sense that this feels like a deck that can be used. It doesn't feel fragile at all. Do you understand what I mean? So, because Debs was very clear and adamant in saying, look, I'm not doing this on a larger scale. So obviously as a consequence of that, you know, there's a few things that may happen in the production, but this feels 100% like a deck that has been printed with all the care in the world. So it doesn't feel like a prototype at all to me. It feels like a legit deck. So absolutely loving that. So the first thing that I want to say about this deck is something that really caught my attention immediately when I was looking at the photos on Instagram, is that many cards, and it could be all of them, but I'm not entirely sure, but at least I know that many cards have, if you look at them here, they actually have a reference to another card. And you guys know how much I love combinations, or, you know, seeing that a card can be read with a bond to another card. It just creates so many more layers of interpretation, and I really love that. And in my, let's say, career as a collector, I've always noticed that there's no manual 101 in how to create this kind of combination between cards, and that is something incredibly fascinating. So someone would think, for example, it says here the world, right? So let me just show you, because otherwise you won't believe me. So this is the full card, and we know the full card, it's fine. And then we look at this here, and it says the world, and it's upside down. So I'm just gonna turn it up this way so that you can read it. It says the world here. So obviously we're thinking that the association meant here is between the full card and the world card, which is, I am 100% on board with it, because yes, of course, I'm the first one to know that, to say that all the time. The fool is never a new fool. In very limited cases, the fool is a new fool. It's always a wise fool. It's a fool that has been through the journey already and has been through the success of reaching the world card, but has understood that they also need to start again. And so this is appalling, because appalling in the good way. This is surprising, let's say, because obviously this is the association that I make, and I always love to see that someone else is making the same association. So absolutely stoked to see that. And then we got the Magician, and here on the cape of the Magician we can read that there's actually two references here, which is even more interesting. It says the Sun and the Empress. So obviously there is this sense of associating the magician with the Sun and the Empress, and that's very intriguing for me, because I probably would not have made that association myself. And then we've got the High Priestess here, and then we got something here that I have to turn. So the magician, obviously the magician. So we've got the magician has got the Sun and the Empress, but then when we go to the High Priestess, we've got the magician, which, you know, it tells me, okay, so in this case, is it something that we see as reversed, perhaps? So the High Priestess reversed can be seen as the magician somehow, because she hasn't matured yet, the knowledge, the inner knowledge. I don't know. It's really, really interesting. Very something that will keep me occupied, something that really stimulates my mind, and I love it when a tarot deck does that. So the Empress has got, for example, the Magician again in the Tower. The Emperor has got the Moon, and the Hierophant has got the Emperor. The Lovers have got the Hierophant. The Chariot has got the Lovers. The Strength card, I cannot find it. Oh yes, it is here. It's the Chariot, and so on and so forth. So I do see them written somewhere in the card for each and every one of these cards, but I don't want to show them all to you, because otherwise we're going to stay here forever. But the Hangman, for example, has got the Fool, which is very interesting, because maybe they need to take on a different perspective here, or maybe they don't have a clear vision on what they're doing yet, and so that's how they relate to the Fool. There's so many things that I feel like adding up to this. The Temperance with Death, and the Dark Devil, the Dark Magician with the Temperance card. Really nice, very nice association. You guys know that before I left, I was saying it all the time, I'm actually being stalked by the Devil card. There's one deck in specific, it's the Wayseeker's Tarot, and the Devil in the Wayseeker's Tarot, because it reminds me so much of a TV show which is called The Daredevil, which is based on the comic books, obviously. So you're probably familiar, at least with the comic books. And I kept on receiving, I kept on pulling that card, and you know, when you can't beat them, you just have to join them. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, well, you know what, I welcome you. Let's see what you bring into my life. I mean, I don't know. It's always very interesting when a devil is your stalker card. The World card has got the Wheel of Fortune. So then we've got, okay, so we got the Ace of Wands, and I see here there's the AC dot. I presume it's saying Ace of, and then there's a symbol of Pentacles. So it feels like there is this kind of combination, but it also says here Summer. I don't know if you can tell. The Two of Wands. So I would say this, really very intrigued by this association. I feel like I'm going to do a lot of work with this deck, because I really want to see whether all of these associations resonate with me or not, whether I think that something else may have been more appropriate, or if even better, if this is teaching me to read the cards in a different way, or giving me something more, you know, a different perspective. I always love that. I always seek out a deck that does that for me. If you are a deck creator and you are giving your cards, your tarot deck, let's say a different perspective, please contact me. I will be absolutely positively in love with the idea of seeing your deck, studying your deck, and learning your idea about tarot, because it's always really interesting to me. So I also love the fact that it's, as you can see, minimalist in colors. We've got a cream color background, and if you can tell, it's off-white, it's not entirely white, it's cream colored to me. That looks like that. And then we got obviously the blacks and the gold color that create a little bit of a contrast, and it's very beautiful. I really like the way this is at the same time minimalist and simple, but very well done as well. And so it does have this sense of inviting you into the card, and it's not just because of the references that you can find. Let me just double check the Queen of Swords, because you guys know that it's my significator. I'm always checking it out to see whether I like it or not. I like it. I like this one. Let me just double check whether there is a reference in the court cards as well, but I don't see a reference in the court cards, so there is no association that I can find. However, I do see here that, you know what, I think there is, because, well, there you go. Okay, so in here, for example, you can see that this is the universal symbol for justice. I believe this is obviously a scale. And I believe that maybe, because, yes, definitely. So this one can actually be referred to, sorry, I'm working it out as I go, so I'm really trying not to make mistakes, and I'm trying to be intuitive. I think this is the sign of Libra, because we've got Aquarius here. So I'm thinking the King of Swords is associated, all of the Suit of Swords is associated to air signs, because it is what it is. That's the way it's done. I really love the idea that the Aquarius is associated with the King of Swords. I do read that. Every now and then there's a lot of books. I've been reading a lot of books on association between astrology and tarot, and it is not always the case, not always the same, but I do like to see that expressed here. But it feels like there's another symbol here, so it is upside down, and if I turn it upside down, I see that, I don't know if you can help me. Debs, if you're watching this video, please let me know. My apologies, I haven't downloaded a PDF. I didn't have time yet, but I will do that, and I'm sure 100% I will be able to find this in the PDF file. So I worked it out that this is Libra. I cannot, and it's probably my eyeglasses. I probably need to upgrade to a stronger lens, which is really killing me. But I can see it's a face, but I cannot really understand whether it's a symbol of something. My apologies for that. I see here, for example, yes, we see Aquarius here, and then here we see maybe Capricorn. So maybe it's related to another zodiacal sign. I'm not entirely sure. My apologies for that. I'm not really doing a good job now, am I? Then we're moving on to the Suit of Pentacles. Really beautiful as well, I have to say. And so it really feels like it's also an RWS clone. So obviously, if you know your RWS, you will be able to read with this deck. But that wasn't the main reason why I bought it. As I said, I am really intrigued by these associations. I really feel like we can do a lot of work with these when it comes to studying, for example. And as I always say, I always admire a creator that can look and express tarot in a slightly different way, but that still makes sense. So really, really stoked about this deck. Well done, Debs. Really loving it. And may I just say, the quality is fantastic. The cardstock is amazing. It reminds me a lot of an improvement from Make Plain Cards cardstock, if that makes sense, because it feels very smooth and battery as much as Make Plain Cards, but it feels sturdier than Make Plain Cards. So maybe it's got a German core, because I know that in Europe you guys can actually access the German black core. I'm not entirely sure though. As I said, I apologize if I am saying something that is not entirely correct. Did I show the backs? Yes, these are the backs. Really stoked and cannot wait to start working with this deck as well. So another biosecurity. What do you guys put in these boxes? Seriously, I think I know what this deck is. Let me just and oh, they put a cute picture of a dog. Oh, cutie. Oh, look, it's a labby. Hi. So a cute labby actually sniffed my parcel. I'm not even upset about it. Yeah, cutie patootie. I really love it. So I think that this is the Stunning Tarot. Yes, it must be. I bought the Stunning Tarot when Honasa was talking about it. I believe it was 6 months ago. I don't remember anymore. And this, it's supposed to be the 5th edition of the Stunning Tarot. So what happened was that every time, and I'm not saying it to jinx myself, but this is something that happened every single time that I bought the Stunning Tarot. So I don't know whether it's gonna happen again. I really hope not. And that would never stop me from buying decks from Honasa because I love them. But every time that I buy a Stunning Tarot, not the Honasa House Tarot, that one has never had any problem. Whether there's a default in production, the images are misprinted or miscut more than misprinted. There's like cards that have been cut lower than the others. I always had a problem, and it's not Honasa's fault, obviously. She's not she's not there checking out on the quality of the decks that she's making. She's a creator, and she's a one person with all of these tasks, and I admire what she's doing, obviously. So I'm not saying anything against her at all, but it's always funny because it's uncanny. It's never the Honasa House Tarot, it's the Stunning Tarot every time. And even when I buy the Honasa together with the Stunning Tarot, the Honasa deck would be perfect and the Stunning would have a flaw. So I'm just gonna try and see whether this one is perfect or not. Again, it doesn't really matter. So there's a thank you note. Well, thank you for always making these amazingly beautiful decks. And let's see. I know that there's a lot of us that have received this deck around the world, and I've seen it already in a couple of Instagram pages. I haven't seen it in YouTube videos yet. So this obviously always comes with this sticker that stops, you know, the cards from getting out from the upper flap. But generally speaking, I always find that there's a sticker in the bottom flap. There isn't one in this case. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually gonna open it from here. So just give me 1 second, I don't want to ruin it. Okay, so I've opened it from the bottom. I just really don't want to take out the sticker at the top here. This is the 5th edition, as I thought. It looks like it's she's still privileging this kind of format, because I remember the Stunning is another one that she really likes to change things around whenever it comes to the size and the format. I remember the 3rd edition, or the 2nd edition was tiny. The 3rd edition was square, but it was so thin that if you held it from one side, it was wobbling. So I wasn't particularly fond of that edition. Then she moved on to really excellent cardstock. Then on the 4th edition, it was, I believe, the same size as the Honasa House Tarot, and she sold them together. And I think that this is more or less the same size as the 4th edition, and definitely the same format, so more, you know, narrower. But let's have a look. And so it is wrapped. So let me just quickly unwrap it. Okay, so here we go. So we've got, it feels like it's absolutely perfect. I don't really see any flaws, which means that maybe we broke the curse, which will make me very happy. These are the backs. I don't see that it's in order, which is fine. I don't really mind. And maybe there was a quality control. Sometimes when indie decks come to you and they're not in order, is because the creator has sample checked them. So maybe they just put them back in whatever order they were. Or maybe there is, you know, sometimes there is rhyme and reason to the fact that they're not in the normal order. I know that, for example, I've seen them many times in thought-inspired decks. Obviously, I have a different order from the RWS. But in other cases, creators themselves, they actually want to put some cards at the beginning because maybe a particular card is representative of the deck. So there's no, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not in order. It might mean that it's done in a very specific way. Like if we've got the Ace of Coins here and the Two of Coins. So it feels like this is in order now. The Suit of Coins. It was just the 10 of Coins at the beginning, so I'm curious to see after this one. So we've got the Warrior of Coins, the Queen, we got the King, and the Page. And let's see, and then we've got what looks like the Death card. Wow, very powerful, very beautiful. So more major arcanas with the Chariot, the Devil. Wow. Okay, talking about the Devil. Wow, that's a very... See, this is, to me, it's a very animalistic kind of devil. And so it is very interesting because more than an anthropomorphized kind of devil, this one is a devil I have probably less not problems. It has a smaller impact on me rather than a devil that looks like a human being. The Emperor with the Ego, the Empress. So if you do have the other editions of the Stunning Tarot, you will notice there's several differences. And I like that about Honasa because you know, she really loves her creation. She thinks about her decks. She looks at the cards and she thinks about how to make them better. Or even, I believe that she's actually, while she's progressing in her life and she's evolving, she's, you know, growing older like we all are, I believe that she's actually looking at her creations and giving different kind of vibes to the cards because she wants them to be reflected as she's also evolving. So this full card, for example, is absolutely stunning. May I say, it is absolutely stunning. Oh my goodness. The colors, the way in which this feels to me like it's what I was saying earlier. This is a wise fool. This is not a new fool. This is a person that has been around the sun a couple of times already and they know what they lay in front of us. They know what to expect, but they also don't. Because each and every adventure is a new one, and there will be things that will be similar, but there will be many, many more things that will be different. And so there is this sense of taking a break here, and it's almost as if it were a combination between the Star card and the Moon card and the Fool card at the same time. I really, really love this. My goodness, absolutely stunning. So stunning card for the Stunning Tarot. And the Lovers card, wow. This reminds me a lot of the Marielle Lovers card, maybe. The Moon, the Magician, very beautiful Magician, by the way. Really magical, sorry, no pun intended. I was thinking about Harry Potter when I saw this, I don't know why. The World card, really beautiful with the alchemical elements as well. The Hierophant, wow, look at this card. Isn't this amazing? That is so, it's almost as if it were this point in time that is combining the as above to the so below. And it's almost as if it were mirroring these two worlds. Really nice. The Wheel of Fortune, yep, beautiful. The High Priestess and the Sun card and the Temperance card and the Tower, yep. And then we go into Swords, but then here we start with the Ace of Swords and the 10 and then the 2. I believe that, look, there's always something to be said about the esoteric reasons why creators do some changes to their own creations. Loving the Four of Swords, by the way. I love the association of this teal green and this kind of, is it magenta red? Please excuse me, I'm not very good with that. It feels like a very good combination of colors here. Obviously, there is something to be said about the Stunning Tarot. So it's not just not an RWS, but it's also, I remember reading that oh, I love the King of Swords. Hello. Wow, this is amazing. This is someone wearing one of those really old scuba divers suits that looked very cumbersome and heavy and, you know, make me claustrophobic, most likely. Let me just double check the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is a mermaid, I believe, but looks a little bit like one of the protagonists from the X-Men, you know what I mean? The one, well, I don't know her name, sorry, the blue one. Okay. Scratch that. Really love the King of Swords. So I was saying that there's a lot of inspiration from Alejandro Jodorowsky and the way in which he's conceiving tarot. And so I know that there's a really strong link between this creation and Jodorowsky's creation. I do have an older PDF file of the book, the companion book to the Stunning Tarot. So I'm just going to double check whether I can use it or not. Or there might also be, because Honasa is always giving an announcement on Instagram, and I don't always, sometimes I miss her posts, and maybe there has been a post in which she was saying that there is a PDF available for this deck. If you do have it, if you have the PDF, please let me know. Please leave a comment below saying yeah, she's actually making it available on her website or wherever, and I will definitely download it. I do have an older one, but it feels like there's so many changes in the cards here that I can actually tell that I don't know whether the old one is actually going to be very helpful. Oh, look at a kitty cat. Oh, 10 of branches or 10 of wands once. Oh, I love this kitty cat. And yeah, really beautiful. Look, as always, it's stunning. It is stunning. It's not called stunning for nothing. There's a reason here. Okay, right. So, sorry, this took me a little bit by surprise. This is the 7 of Wands. It looks like a goat, devil / goat, with all of these spirits around it. Wow, really cool. I will definitely have to check this out. You can also tell the difference between the suits because of the different colors. That is something that has always been, you know, in all of the decks. I believe that you can actually tell the difference between the suits because of that, even when you don't necessarily have the specification. Like in this one, this is the 9 of Wands. You can tell because it's a purplish greenish kind of color, which is the same as all of the other Wands cards. So absolutely stoked with this deck. As I always say this whenever I buy one of Honasa's decks, I don't necessarily use them. They just don't call to me. But as a collector, these are gold. I mean, this is fantastic. This is unique. You know what I mean? And of course, I want it in my collection. And, you know, and this is absolutely perfect. So maybe there's a lot of quality control now. Or maybe I was just unlucky in the previous decks that I bought. I mean, it can happen. Sometimes it happens. There's no choice around that. Really, really loving this one, the Stunning Tarot. And last but not least, we've got it's a playing card deck, okay? So it's not a tarot deck. However, because I do read playing cards, I actually started reading playing cards first and then tarot when I was little. So, I mean, this is going back to my origins. When I was in Japan, I really wanted to find anything, and I mean anything related to Studio Ghibli, and in specific a couple of movies from Studio Ghibli. If you're not familiar, Studio Ghibli still is, my goodness, of course, a movie studio that was founded by, amongst many directors, one of the most famous ones, my beloved Hayao Miyazaki. And Hayao Miyazaki is the director behind two of my favorite Japanese anime of all time. And one is Totoro, My Neighbor Totoro, and one is Spirited Away. In particular, I think that Spirited Away was and still is an incredibly strong and important movie in my life because it really changed a couple of things that I was kind of fighting with in my life, in my personality, in the circumstances that I was going through. If you think that they're a recent movie, they're not. I mean, Totoro is from the 80s. I kid you not. Totoro is from the 80s. I believe Spirited Away is more recent, but it's still 25, 26 years old. So it is movies that are ageless, timeless, because you can still watch them. Even now, whilst we were in Japan, I found out my husband never watched Totoro nor Spirited Away, so obviously I made him watch them, and he's a fan now. He's a fan of Totoro especially. But the things that the thematics and everything that is dealt with in those movies are incredibly important and incredibly relevant even now. And I believe that they're not just for a younger kind of audience. I mean, definitely. The first time that I watched them, I was definitely younger, especially Totoro. But now I watch Totoro and I have a different kind of perspective. So the first time I watched Totoro, I was probably one of the two sisters, and now I feel I relate more with the parents, of course. So it changes the perspective that you take on those movies in life. But Spirited Away is still one of those movies that it just takes my breath away. It's just unbelievable. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. I know it's an anime, it's a cartoon, and so if you're older, you're like, I'm not watching cartoons anymore. I know, I get it, I totally get it. But please watch it, because it's not like it's about 2 hours long, and it's just, there's so much in those movies that is so important and really hits the heart. And so I really wanted everything related to Totoro and Spirited Away, and I found the money coins. I couldn't find t-shirts because they're not, so in Japan they don't have the copyrights to reproduce images of Totoro or Studio Ghibli on t-shirts. But there is in Uniqlo Sydney, so maybe also in the US, they just released a Studio Ghibli line, and there's I think there's No Face, there's the Porco Rosso, and there's also My Neighbor Totoro, and there's a couple of more, Kiki's Delivery Service or something like that, I don't remember. In any case, it's really, really cool, and I'm going to buy those. So when I saw that they actually allowed the copyright, they allowed several companies to actually make playing cards, because there's unfortunately no Taro, Studio Ghibli Taro, I thought, well, I can still read playing cards, so I'd definitely buy it. And I was looking through them, and I mean, I'm not entirely sure because I didn't have a lot of time and I just looked at 3 or 4 examples that they had there, but I think they're actually fully scenic. So it's not your usual playing cards decks, but let's have a look. It's this one here. I talk a lot. My New Year's resolution, I know it's not New Year's at all and it's still like 6 months away, but my New Year's resolution for 2026 will be to talk less. Shorter videos, I promise. I'm gonna do my best. It's gonna be harder than being on a diet. Okay, so this is it. I didn't even check it, and let me see if I can understand how to open this. And here they are, here are the cards. And of course we got No Face at the back. So let me just zoom in because it's obviously smaller. It's a poker size. It's even smaller than poker size, I guess. And oh, look at that, so cute. If you watched, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched it, but please watch it. It's just really absolutely amazing. This is the Joker, one of the Joker. This is the spa place. And this is Chihiro, or Sen. And this is Chihiro that has already been transformed into Sen, and this could be her parents for what I know. Okay, so as you can see, is this upside down? Yeah, probably. Okay, as you can see, yeah, it's a poker deck, okay, but it's fully scenic. It's got all of these images, and this is starting since the beginning. This is the scene in the car. So, wow, and obviously they're traveling. Yeah, okay, so this is chronological. It looks like this is chronological, and it would be very interesting to see. Oh, this is Haku, when Chihiro meets Haku for the first time. Can I just say, Haku and Chihiro, one of the most beautiful and purest love story of all time. Yeah, so obviously Haku doing his magic. Oh my god, and this is when she needs to go, I don't remember this one. Oh, they cross the bridge, they need to cross the bridge and all the spirits are there. And she's really scared. Okay, I can't tell you the whole movie, obviously, but this is absolutely amazing. I love this one. I love this deck. It's gonna be so much fun. Look at this. It's gonna be so much fun going through all of the cards and trying to associate the meaning of the cards with the particular scenes in the movie. I think I'll have to probably watch it again because I might not remember some of these scenes, so obviously I remember this. I remember this for sure. I remember this. Okay, sorry, I can't keep on doing this. This is the spirit of the river. One of the most auspicious yokai you can find. So I've talked about yokai for 5 weeks with Japanese people. Many of them are into it. There's a whole yokai theme this year because at Bitsama, so there is this mega exhibition for video gamers that is currently in Japan, and it's a yearly thing, and this year is dedicated to yokai. So there's a lot of t-shirts, books, movies, posters, anything you can think of related to especially Kuniyoshi's yokai. So if you're familiar with the big skeleton, then you know that's the one I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, I actually bought one for myself. If you'll indulge me, just 1 second. Okay, so I bought this hoodie. Let me just show you. Let's see, I probably have to zoom out. This is a hoodie that I bought, and it's got the Kuniyoshi skeleton on the back. This is all embroidered, and it's got the sakura, the blossom thingy, and the tsunami at the Hokusai tsunami at the bottom, as you can see. I'm only missing Mount Fuji, and then I've got all of the symbols of Japan in one hoodie. So this is a hoodie, as I said. I just can't show you all of it. So this is the actual hoodie, and this is the back. And these are very popular now in Japan. I'm wearing another one here. I don't know if you can tell. This one is with a keyring and a keyring on the back as well. I don't know if you can see. And I bought another one with, what did I buy? Oh, with a phoenix. I needed a phoenix. I wanted one with a tiger, but for some reason I couldn't find one that I liked with a tiger. So there's this thing about everything yokai this year in Japan, everything yokai, which made me really, really happy, as you can imagine. And yeah, I feel like I definitely, Haku, when he's a Kirin, when he's the spirit of the river is a dragon. And so it's a very beneficial one, very positive one, brings a lot of good luck. Obviously you need to be on his side. So really, look, San and Haku. So I love this deck. It's really beautiful. The majority of the cards, unfortunately, are landscape-wise, which is a bit of a deal breaker for me, but I don't mind because it's not a huge deck, and so I don't mind that we'll have to put them one on top of the other like that. But it will be very interesting to see how this reads if I want to read it based on the images and knowing what actually happens on the movie at that point, or if I want to read it you know, for the specific way in which I read a poker deck. We'll see, but I'm very, very happy that I've finally got this one, because I just really, really love everything Studio Ghibli, especially Spirited Away, and so I was very happy to find this one. That was it for today. Still a very long video. I'm working on it. Apologies for that, but in any case, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!